My name is Ethan Clark, and I'm 40 years old. For 2 decades, I've worked construction, fixing what others break, solving problems with calloused hands and common sense. I manage repair crews now, but I still remember the weight of a hammer, the satisfaction of something broken made whole again. It's honest work. You can't lie to a foundation. It either holds or it doesn't. 5 years ago, I married Madison Hall. She was 33 then, a corporate strategist at one of those glass towers downtown where everyone wears suits that cost more than my truck payment. We met at a charity fundraiser. My company was doing pro bono renovation work for a shelter, and I was there installing track lighting. She was there networking, champagne flute in hand, designer dress catching the light I'd just installed. "You're the one making this place shine," she said to me, and I thought she meant the lighting. Later, she told me she meant me. The attraction was immediate despite our different worlds. Maybe because of them. She said she loved how straightforward I was. No corporate games, no double-speak. Just yes or no, broken or fixed, truth or lies. I admired her ambition, the way she commanded a room, how her mind worked 3 steps ahead of everyone else. We balanced each other, or so I thought. Our house sits in the suburbs. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, nothing extravagant. I did most of the renovations myself. Rebuilt the deck, installed crown molding, converted the garage into a proper workshop. Madison would bring me coffee while I worked, kiss my dusty forehead, tell me how lucky she was to have a husband who could build things instead of just talk about them. We never had children. Madison's timeline didn't allow for it. Senior management by 40, partner track by 45. "After I make partner," she would say, "then we can talk about babies." I respected that. Some men wouldn't, but I've never been the type to force my timeline on anyone else. Our routine was comfortable. I'd leave at dawn for job sites, steel-toed boots and thermal coffee mug. She'd leave an hour later, clicking across our hardwood floors in heels that announced her presence before she entered any room. We'd reconvene at dinner, sometimes home-cooked, often takeout, sharing our days. Her corporate battles, my technical problems, different languages, but we translated for each other. 6 months ago, the translation stopped working. It started with small things. New perfume, something French I couldn't pronounce. Lingerie purchases that never made appearances in our bedroom. She started caring about her appearance in ways she hadn't in years. The gym became religious. Her phone, once casually left anywhere, became an extension of her hand. "New boss," she explained when I asked about the late nights. "Vincent Cox, he's restructuring the entire department." I need to prove myself, Vincent Cox. Even his name sounded like everything I wasn't. Smooth, sophisticated, probably never held a tool heavier than a Mont Blanc pen. Madison would mention him casually at first. "Vincent thinks we should pivot our strategy," she'd tell me. "Vincent has this interesting theory about market penetration," she'd add. Then the mentions became more frequent, more animated. Her eyes would light up describing his business acumen. When she talked about our weekend plans, that light dimmed. Our intimate life, once satisfying if predictable, became a scheduled obligation. When I reached for her, she'd claim exhaustion. When she initiated, it felt performative, like she was checking a box on her to-do list. Twice I caught her checking her phone during, claiming it was work emergencies. The 3rd time I stopped trying. I'm not naive. 20 years on construction sites teaches you about men and marriages. I've seen enough good men destroyed by bad women to recognize the signs. The locked bathroom door during phone calls. The sudden interest in client dinners that somehow always ran late. The way she'd angle her phone screen away when I entered the room, fingers flying across the keyboard before clicking at dark. But I'm also methodical. You don't tear down a wall without knowing if it's load-bearing. You don't accuse without proof. So I watched. I made mental notes. Her Tuesday evening conference calls taken in the garage. The weekend strategy session that required a new dress. The smile, soft, secret, nothing like the one she gave me anymore, that bloomed across her face when her phone buzzed. Last Tuesday, she came home at midnight. I was in the kitchen, laptop open, pretending to review work schedules. "You're up late," she said to me, not quite meeting my eyes. "Big project tomorrow." "You?" I replied. "Vincent needed help with the Horizon presentation," she answered. She set her purse down, careful not to let it tip. I'm exhausted. Going to shower and crash. I watched her walk upstairs, noticed her hair was already damp at the roots, noticed the faint bruise on her neck that her concealer couldn't quite hide, noticed she was carrying her heels instead of wearing them. After her shower, her second of the evening apparently, she kissed my forehead and went to bed. I sat alone in our kitchen in the house I'd renovated with my own hands, at the table I'd built from reclaimed wood, and made a decision. I opened my laptop and typed, "Private investigators near me." The search results loaded quickly. Discreet, confidential, experienced. Words that promised answers to questions I wasn't sure I wanted to ask, but needed to. My finger hovered over the mouse. Once I clicked, there would be no unknowing what I learned. Some doors once opened can never be closed again. I thought about our wedding day, Madison in white, promising to forsake all others. I thought about trust, about vows, about the difference between paranoia and preparation. Then I thought about that bruise on her neck. I clicked the first result and began filling out the contact form. Name, phone number. Brief description of services needed. The email confirmation arrived with a soft ping that felt louder than it should in the empty kitchen. Whatever I found, there was no going back from this moment. The foundation of my marriage was already cracked. Now I would find out if it could be repaired, or if it needed to be demolished completely. I closed the laptop and climbed the stairs to our bedroom. Madison was already asleep, turned away from my side of the bed, her phone charging on her nightstand, password protected and full of secrets. I lay beside my wife of 5 years and wondered when she'd become a stranger. Wondered if she'd ever really been anything else. Wondered what price I'd pay for the truth. Some doors once opened can never be closed again, but some doors need to be blown off their hinges. The investigator's office sat above a dry cleaner in a strip mall nobody noticed. Perfect for a business built on being invisible. Dylan Murphy, former police detective, 15 years of seeing marriages implode. He didn't judge. He didn't comfort. He just delivered truth, documented and time-stamped. I need 4 things from you, he said, sliding a form across his cluttered desk. Her schedule, vehicle information, workplace address, and 2 weeks' payment up front. Cash preferred. I'd come prepared. 3,000 in hundreds. Withdrawn over several days from different ATMs. Money from side jobs Madison didn't know about. Weekend bathroom remodels, emergency repairs. My rainy day fund had become a storm shelter. This is comprehensive, I said, handing over Madison's daily patterns mapped out like blueprints. Yoga Tuesdays and Thursdays. 6 a.m., office by 8:30. Lunch, usually at her desk unless client meetings. Evening departure times varying wildly lately. Dylan studied the information with professional detachment. Affairs follow patterns. Hotels between noon and 2. Parking garages after 6. Weekend conferences that don't appear on company calendars. I'll have preliminary findings within a week. Comprehensive documentation in 2, he explained. How comprehensive? I asked. Photographs, times, locations, license plates, hotel records if accessible. Everything you need for divorce proceedings, he replied. He paused. You planning on divorce? I'm planning on truth, I answered. He nodded, understanding. Truth costs extra sometimes. Pain always comes free, he said. Those 2 weeks stretched like piano wire, taut and humming with tension I couldn't let show. Every morning I kissed Madison goodbye, tasted her deception like copper on my tongue. Every evening I asked about her day, listened to lies layered between truth. Vincent's name appeared in every 3rd sentence now, bold and unashamed. At work, I became obsessed. Every measurement exact, every angle perfect, every joint seamless. My foreman, Jerry, 23 years in the trade, noticed. You're cutting lumber like it owes you money, he observed during lunch break. Just focused, I replied. Focused is good. Whatever you're working through, handle it clean. Seen too many men handle it dirty, he advised. I thought about that word, clean. Nothing about this felt clean, but it would be precise, methodical, documented. 10 days in, Dylan called. Coffee shop on Riverside. 20 minutes, he said. I told Jerry I had a dental appointment, drove across town with my heart hammering against my ribs. Dylan was already there, manila envelope thick as a brick beside his black coffee. "You're not going to like this," he warned, sliding the envelope across the Formica table. "But you need to see it." My hands were steady as I opened it. 20 years of construction teaches you to control your body even when your mind is screaming. The first photograph stopped my breath. Madison entering the Marriott downtown, Tuesday, 12:47 p.m. Vincent Cox's hand on the small of her back, proprietary and familiar. The second photo, them at the registration desk, her laughing at something he said. The third, leaving 3 hours later, her hair different, her makeup smudged, his tie loosened. I flipped through them methodically. Multiple hotels over 2 weeks. His Mercedes in empty parking garages, windows fogged. A conference room after hours. Madison perched on the desk edge, skirt hiked, Vincent between her legs. Both laughing like they'd invented joy. The last set destroyed me. Vincent pressing Madison against his car. Her fingers in his salt and pepper hair, his hands gripping her waist like she belonged to him. The kiss was hungry, desperate, nothing like the mechanical pecks she gave me. "There's more," Dylan said quietly. He pulled out a typed report. "Vincent Cox, 45, married 17 years. Wife's name is Patricia, 2 daughters, 14 and 16. He makes 3 times your wife's salary. This isn't his first affair, according to sources, but your wife seems special. They're not subtle at the office. Joint lunches, extended meetings, inside jokes. People notice. His wife?" I asked. "Doesn't appear to know. She's a pediatric nurse, covered in the society pages for charity work. Coaches their daughter's soccer team," he informed me. I studied Cox's photo. Handsome in that soft, expensive way. Probably never changed his own oil, never split wood, never felt satisfaction from physical labor. Everything about him was theoretical, abstract, leveraged. Is this enough? I questioned. For divorce? More than enough. This level of documentation will significantly impact asset division. Judges don't look kindly on this extent of deception, Dylan confirmed. Continue surveillance. 1 more week, I instructed. Dylan raised an eyebrow. You sure? You have what you need. I want everything. His patterns, his wife's schedule, their routine. Everything, I insisted. That's moving beyond documentation into something else, he observed. Yes, I acknowledged. It is. That evening, I installed new locks on my workshop toolboxes. The envelope went into the bottom drawer, beneath warranty papers and instruction manuals. Evidence buried under the mundane, like Madison's betrayal buried under routine. She came to the workshop around 9, glass of wine in hand, wearing one of my old flannel shirts and nothing else, a move that would have worked 6 months ago. You've been distant, she said, running fingers along my workbench. Everything okay? I looked at my wife, this woman I'd built a life with who was systematically destroying everything we'd created, and smiled. Just tired. Big project deadline coming up, I replied. She moved closer, wine breath and that new perfume. Maybe you need to relax, she suggested. Her hand touched my chest. Vincent says stress is the mind killer. He recommended this meditation app. Vincent says a lot, doesn't he? I interrupted, something flickered in her eyes. Fear? Excitement? He's brilliant with corporate psychology. You'd actually like him, she insisted. I'm sure I would, I responded flatly. She kissed me then, tasting of Merlot and lies. I kissed her back, thinking of the photos 3 feet away, thinking of her laughing in that conference room, thinking of another man's hands on what I'd thought was mine. Come to bed, she whispered. Few more minutes. Almost done here, I answered. She left, disappointed but not suspicious. I opened my notebook and began writing. Asset documentation, account numbers, lawyer consultation appointment, security system quotes, gun safe specifications. I worked until 2 a.m. planning the controlled demolition of my marriage. Foundation first, then supports, then walls, until nothing remained but rubble and the truth. Madison was asleep when I finally climbed into bed, curled away from me, phone clutched even in dreams. I stared at the ceiling and thought about Dylan's next report, about Cox's wife who didn't know, about 2 daughters who'd lose their father's reputation. I thought about collateral damage and decided I didn't care. She'd made her choice. Now everyone would live with the consequences. My lawyer's office occupied the 20th floor of a downtown high-rise, all glass and ambition. Sarah Winters came recommended by Tony from my crew. His brother had lost everything in his divorce until Sarah took over. "She's a barracuda in Prada," he'd said. "Worth every penny." Sarah reviewed my evidence with the intensity of a structural engineer examining blueprints. "This is exceptional documentation. Most clients bring suspicions. You've brought proof," she observed. "What does it mean for the divorce?" I asked. "Everything. Infidelity at this level, with this documentation, influences equitable distribution significantly. The house, purchased before marriage but jointly titled, that's complex. But with evidence this comprehensive, we have leverage," she explained. "We spent 3 hours cataloging assets. The house, Ford $20,000 mortgage nearly paid. 2 vehicles, retirement accounts. The joint savings Madison had been slowly draining, small transfers. $500 here, $800 there, to an account I didn't know existed. It's legal," Sarah explained. "Joint means joint, but it shows intent. She's preparing her exit. What about support?" I inquired. "Spousal support?" Sarah pulled up calculations. "With her income exceeding yours by 40%, you could qualify. It would hurt her monthly." "No, I don't want her money. I want her to have nothing of mine," I stated firmly. Sarah smiled, sharp as a blade. "Then we protect your assets. Everything premarital stays yours. The house becomes the battleground," she said. "I'll win that battle," I assured her. "With this evidence?" "Yes, you will," she confirmed. "The security system installation took a weekend. I told Madison it was about recent break-ins. Partially true, 3 houses hit in the last month." "Seems excessive," she commented, watching me mount cameras. "We have nothing worth stealing." "Peace of mind is worth something," I replied. 8 cameras total. Every entrance, living room, kitchen, hallway, driveway. Cloud backup, motion activation, audio recording capability. I installed them myself, ensuring perfect angles, testing sight lines like a sniper positioning. "The app lets you monitor from anywhere," I explained to her, showing her the interface. "See? You're making coffee." She waved at the camera, playful. If she'd known what those cameras would capture, she would have smashed every lens. The gun safe arrived Thursday. Biometric lock, fire-resistant, bolted to the closet floor. My Glock 19, purchased years ago, cleaned and maintained weekly. The permit current, training documented, everything legal. "Since when are you a gun nut?" Madison asked, finding me organizing ammunition. "Since break-ins increased. Better safe than sorry," I answered. "Vincent thinks guns are compensation for—" she started. "I don't care what Vincent thinks," I cut her off. She studied me, something calculating in her expression. "You've been different lately." "Harder," she observed. "Work stress," I deflected. "Maybe we should talk to someone." "Couples therapy," she suggested. I almost laughed. "Sure, set it up," I said. She never did. Dylan's continued surveillance revealed patterns within patterns. Madison and Cox met Tuesdays and Thursdays consistently, plus Saturdays when she claimed client conferences. The hotels varied, but the timeline didn't. 2 to 4 hours. Room service sometimes, always leaving separately. But the most valuable intelligence came unexpectedly. Cox's wife, Patricia, worked regular shifts at Children's Hospital. Their daughters attended private school, soccer practice Mondays and Wednesdays. Cox himself lived dangerously, using his corporate card for hotels, expensing meals with Madison as client development. "He's arrogant," Dylan observed. "Believes he's untouchable. That's exploitable." I documented everything in a composition notebook, cross-referencing with bank statements, creating timelines. Evidence of my presence at home, receipts, text messages, photos I'd sent Madison of dinners I'd cooked while she was working late. If she tried painting me as absent or neglectful, I'd have proof otherwise. Madison grew bolder as weeks passed. She'd mention Vincent constantly now, testing boundaries. "Vincent's marriage is basically over," she announced one evening, apropos of nothing. "He stays for his daughters, but there's no love there." "That's sad," I commented, not looking up from my laptop. "Is it? Maybe it's sadder to pretend. Maybe honesty is better, even if it hurts," she pressed. "Depends on the honesty," I replied. She came closer, wine glass in hand. Always wine now. Liquid courage. What if someone wanted something different? Something more exciting? She asked. Then they should ask for it, I answered simply. What if they were afraid? She continued. I looked at her then. Really looked. She was building towards something, gathering courage or justification. Fear is just another problem to solve. You identify it, plan around it, execute the solution, I explained. She nodded, disappointed by my pragmatism. She wanted philosophy, got engineering. That night, she tested another boundary. Would you ever consider an open relationship? She asked. No, I answered immediately. Just no. No discussion, she pressed. No discussion needed. I believe in contracts. Marriage is a contract. Terms were clear, I stated. Contracts can be renegotiated, she argued. Or terminated, I countered. She flinched at that, but recovered. Vincent says monogamy is a social construct, she began. I stood up, done with the conversation. Madison, I'm going to say this once. I don't care about Vincent's theories on marriage, society, or anything else. If you want to renegotiate our marriage, get a lawyer. If you want something else, there's the door, I said firmly. I was just talking. Theoretical, she backtracked. Nothing about marriage is theoretical. It either works or it doesn't, I concluded. She dropped it, but I saw the decision crystallizing in her eyes. She wasn't asking permission anymore. She was building justification for something already decided. Jerry noticed my transformation at work. You're different. Quieter, but sharper. Like you're waiting for something, he observed. Maybe I am, I acknowledged. Whatever's coming, you look ready for it, he said. I've been getting ready for weeks, I confirmed. Need backup? He offered. No, this is mine to handle, I declined. He gripped my shoulder. Solidarity among men who work with their hands, who understand that some problems require permanent solutions. The final phase began when I created backup documentation. Every text saved, every email archived, every receipt cataloged. I opened a safety deposit box at a bank Madison didn't know about, stored copies there. If she tried to destroy evidence, I had redundancy. One evening, I sat in my truck outside our house, watching through security cameras as Madison moved through our kitchen. Phone pressed to her ear, gesturing animatedly. Cox, certainly. She was laughing, head thrown back, free in a way she never was with me anymore. I pulled up the audio, listened to her side of the conversation. Thursday works, she was saying. No, he won't suspect. Then laughing, Vincent, you're terrible. I can't wait. The trap was perfect. Cameras positioned, evidence documented, lawyer prepared, assets protected. All I needed was the trigger moment. And Madison was building toward it with every reckless choice. She thought she was planning her liberation. Really, she was architecting her own destruction. Every text, every meeting, every lie added another bar to the cage she didn't know she was building. I put the truck in gear, drove around the block once more, then pulled into the garage. Madison met me at the door, kissed my cheek, asked about my day. I played my part. Tired husband, unaware cuckold, blind to betrayal. Dinner's in the oven, she informed me. I have a late call with Vincent about the Horizon project. On a Thursday night? I questioned. Big presentation tomorrow. Has to be perfect, she explained. Of course, I said. She disappeared upstairs. I sat at the kitchen table, the same spot where I'd hired the investigator, and smiled. She had no idea she was living in a surveillance state of one. No idea that every kiss, every lie, every secret call was building the case against her. The question wasn't if she'd make the fatal mistake. It was when. Thursday, 6:17 p.m. I remember the exact time because I checked my phone before walking through the garage door. 10 hours of installing commercial HVAC systems, covered in dust and insulation fibers, exhausted in that satisfied way that comes from honest labor. The Mercedes in my driveway stopped me cold. Black, pristine dealer plates still attached. I knew that car from surveillance photos. My pulse steadied. This was it. I entered through the garage, dropping my work bag deliberately loud. Let them know I was home. Let them scramble or stand firm. Either way, the cameras were recording. They were in the living room. Madison on the couch, Vincent Cox beside her, that practiced corporate proximity, not quite touching but intimately close. She stood when I entered, and I saw something in her face I'd never witnessed before. Cold entitlement. Cox stood too, positioning himself slightly forward. Protective or possessive, with men like him, there's no difference. His suit probably cost more than I make in a week. Soft hands, manicured nails, the kind of man who'd never thrown a real punch. "Ethan," Madison said, voice artificially calm. "We need to talk." I nodded, said nothing, sat in my recliner across from them. The cameras captured every angle. I kept my expression neutral, hands visible, unthreatening. Let them hang themselves. Madison took a breath. She'd rehearsed this. "I've been unhappy." "We both have." "You must feel it. The distance, the routine." "We're roommates, not lovers," she began. Still, I said nothing. Silence is a tool. Most people can't handle it. "I've found something with Vincent," she continued, emboldened by my calm. "Something exciting, passionate. What we had? It's been over for months." "Years," Cox added, though he'd known my wife for 6 months at most. Madison shot him a look, but continued. "I don't want to hurt you, but I also can't live a lie anymore," she said. "What do you want?" I asked, voice level. She glanced at Cox, gathering courage. "I want honesty. I want us to acknowledge what this marriage really is. A partnership. Financial, domestic, but emotionally? Romantically? That part needs freedom," she explained. "Freedom?" I repeated. "An open marriage," she said quickly. "Vincent and I will continue seeing each other, openly. He'll visit, we'll have our time, but I'll still be your wife. The house, our life together, that continues, just expanded." The audacity was breathtaking. I leaned forward slightly. "How often?" I asked. "What?" she responded, confused. "How often would Vincent visit my house?" I clarified. She brightened, mistaking questions for negotiation. "Twice a week? Maybe Saturdays sometimes." "We'd be discreet," she offered. "But not secret?" I pressed. "No, that's the point." "Honesty," she confirmed. "And if I refuse?" I asked. Her expression hardened. "Then we divorce." "And Ethan?" "I'll make it brutal." "I have resources you don't. Lawyers who eat construction workers for breakfast. You'll lose the house, half your retirement, probably pay support despite my salary. I have connections. Influence. I can make your professional life impossible. Construction permits delayed, contracts questioned, reputation destroyed," she threatened. Cox stepped forward, adding his own threat. "Be smart about this, Ethan. Madison's offering you a gift, keeping your life intact while accepting reality. Most men in your position would be grateful," he said condescendingly. "My position?" I questioned. "Look at yourself." "Then look at her. You're a laborer. She's ascending corporate ranks. You fix toilets. She shapes strategies. Did you really think you could keep her?" He sneered. I stood slowly. Both tensed. "Wait here," I said. I walked to my office, retrieved the manila envelope from my briefcase, returned and dropped it on the coffee table with a satisfying thud. "Before you finish threatening me," I said quietly, "you should see what I know." Madison reached for it, confused. I watched her face transform as she opened it. The photos spilled out. Hotels, cars, conference rooms, parking garage embraces, timestamps, dates, locations, weeks of evidence. "What is this?" Her voice cracked. "The truth. I've known for over a month. Hired an investigator the night you came home with another man's mark on your neck. I have everything. Hotels, times, even your credit card records for lingerie you never wore for me," I revealed. Cox grabbed the photos, face reddening. "You had us followed?" "You pathetic," he started. "Documented." "There's a difference. My lawyer has copies. So does my safety deposit box. Cloud storage too," I corrected. "This is illegal." Cox stepped toward me, aggressive. "You can't," he protested. "Can't what? Protect myself? Document infidelity?" "Everything was obtained legally. Public spaces, no expectation of privacy," I explained calmly. "You think this changes anything?" Madison's voice turned vicious. "So we had an affair. Happens every day." "I still get half in the divorce," she argued. "No, you don't. Check the prenup you signed, infidelity clause." "You get nothing of premarital assets." "The house? Purchased before marriage." "My retirement?" "Protected. You'll leave with what you brought, Your clothes and your boyfriend, I informed her. Cox moved closer, fists clenched. Listen, you blue-collar piece of... he snarled. Stop! I commanded, voice ice cold. Think very carefully about your next move. Is that a threat? He challenged. It's advice. You're in my house with my wife threatening me. The cameras are recording everything. Your affair admission, Madison's ultimatum, your aggression. You really want to add assault? I warned. Cox laughed, that entitled sound of someone who'd never faced consequences. Cameras? You think you're smart? I'll have them subpoenaed, suppressed. He blustered. Try it, I said simply. He snapped, shoving me hard. I stumbled back but didn't fall. 20 years of physical labor versus a lifetime of golf? Not much contest. Vincent, don't, Madison warned. But Cox was beyond reasoning, humiliation overriding intelligence. He came at me again, arm cocked back. I drew the Glock from my waistband, smooth, practiced. Cox froze mid-swing. Back up, now, I ordered. You won't shoot, he said, but his voice wavered. I'm a licensed carrier defending myself in my own home against an aggressive intruder who's already assaulted me. The cameras will show you attacked first. Back up, I repeated. Cox's face cycled through rage, fear, calculation. Then he made his mistake, lurching forward, maybe for the gun, maybe just momentum. I fired twice. Right thigh, left calf. Dropping shots, not killing shots. The sound was catastrophic in the enclosed space. Cox went down screaming, blood spreading across my hardwood floors. Madison screamed too, dropping beside him, hands pressing on wounds. I set the gun on the bookshelf, pulled out my phone, dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? The dispatcher answered. This is Ethan Clark, 421 Maple Drive. I've just shot an intruder in self-defense. One man, 2 gunshot wounds to the legs, conscious and breathing. Send ambulance and police, I reported calmly. Is the weapon secured? She asked. Yes. I'm cooperating fully, I confirmed. Madison was sobbing, Cox moaning. Blood pooled around them, seeping into wood I'd personally installed. How could you? Madison wailed. You shot him! He attacked me in my own home, after admitting to an affair with my wife, after threatening me. It's all recorded, I stated flatly. You planned this, she accused. No, you planned this. You brought him here. You made threats. He got violent. I defended myself. Legal carry, legal response, I corrected. Ethan, please, I'm sorry, it was a mistake. She begged. The mistake was thinking I'd be a victim, I said coldly. Police arrived in 8 minutes. I met them at the door, hands visible, calm. Explained the situation, showed my permit, directed them to the cameras. The footage told the story exactly as I'd described. Threats, assault, self-defense. EMTs worked on Cox while Madison gave her statement, trying to spin it. But the video contradicted every lie. Cox was stabilized, loaded into the ambulance, Madison following until an officer stopped her. She'd need to give a full statement at the station. An older officer, Sergeant Stripes worn with experience, reviewed the footage on my phone. Clear self-defense. You'll need to come downtown, formal statement, but based on this? He shrugged. You did what you had to. I know, I acknowledged. Word of advice? Get a good lawyer. This won't be the end of it, he counseled. Already have one, I assured him, as they processed the scene, as Cox's blood was photographed and sampled. As Madison was driven away in a patrol car, I sat on my porch steps. The night was cool, quiet except for radio chatter and diesel engines. My hands were steady, my conscience clear. The confrontation I'd prepared for, planned for, was over. Madison wanted excitement, got catastrophe. Cox wanted to intimidate, got shot. They'd gambled everything on me being weak, predictable, defeatable. They'd bet wrong. The house would need professional cleaning. The floors might need replacing, blood soaks deep into wood. But I'd rebuilt before. I could rebuild again. The police tape would come down eventually. The blood would be cleaned. But what happened in my living room tonight would echo through Madison and Vincent's lives forever. I'd made sure of that. Now I just had to watch them fall apart, piece by piece. 3 months later, the dust had settled into a new landscape I'd carefully orchestrated. The divorce finalized in record time. Sarah Winters presented our case. Surveillance documentation, financial records, security footage of the confrontation. The judge, a woman who'd seen enough broken marriages to recognize patterns, reviewed everything with barely concealed disgust. Mrs. Clark, the judge addressed her, using Madison's soon-to-be former name, the evidence of infidelity is overwhelming. Combined with the attempted coercion documented on video, I find no grounds for equitable distribution beyond standard marital assets. Madison got nothing. The house remained mine, my retirement untouched. She walked away with her personal belongings, her car, and whatever remained in her secret account, about $12,000. "This isn't fair," Madison whispered to her lawyer, loud enough for me to hear. Fair. As if anything about our marriage's destruction had been fair. Vincent Cox's situation unfolded like a demolition in slow motion. I'd ensured his wife Patricia received everything: photos, videos, hotel receipts, the complete investigation file. Dylan delivered it personally to her office at the hospital, professional and discreet. The divorce filing came within a week. Patricia Cox wasn't just heartbroken. She was methodical. 17 years of marriage in a fault state meant she got the house, half of everything, plus substantial alimony. Their daughters sided with their mother. Teenage girls don't forgive fathers who humiliate their mothers, but I wasn't done with Cox. The evidence package I sent to his firm's board of directors was comprehensive. Supervisor-subordinate relationship, company resources misused, ethics violations documented across 4 months. The corporate world that Cox thought protected him turned cannibalistic. He was terminated for cause, no severance, no recommendation, his corporate reputation incinerated. Madison's termination followed 2 days later. Misconduct, they called it. Word spreads in corporate circles like fire through dry timber. Within weeks, both were professionally radioactive. The shooting investigation concluded without charges. Clear self-defense, the district attorney determined. Cox's own statement, given from his hospital bed, confirmed he'd been the aggressor. The security footage was undeniable. He'd entered my home, admitted to an affair with my wife, threatened me, then attacked. My response was proportional and legal. Cox's recovery took months. Both surgeries were successful, but the nerve damage was permanent. He walks with a pronounced limp now, chronic pain his constant companion. The physical therapy bills alone destroyed what remained of his finances after the divorce. He tried a civil suit, excessive force, emotional damages. His attorney withdrew after reviewing the security footage. No lawyer wanted to argue that a man who'd attacked someone in their own home deserved compensation for getting shot. Madison tried reaching out multiple times. Texts I didn't answer. Emails I deleted. She appeared at job sites twice before I had security remove her. The last time she looked hollow, designer clothes replaced with department store basics. BMW traded for a used Honda, the Polish gone. "I just want to talk," she pleaded as security escorted her away. There was nothing to say. She'd made her choices. Now she lived with them. Through mutual acquaintances, I learned she was working retail at a shopping center 40 miles away. Corporate strategy to folding clothes. A devastating fall for someone who'd measured worth in titles and salaries. Cox reportedly moved to another state, taking contract work, living in a one-bedroom apartment. Their great passion, which had seemed worth destroying everything for, couldn't survive the wreckage it created. I sold the house 6 months after the divorce. Too many ghosts walking those halls, too much history soaked into the foundation. The new place is smaller, cleaner. A fresh build with no memories embedded in the walls. I did the renovations myself. Workshop in the garage, deck overlooking woods instead of suburbs, everything exactly how I want it. Work continued as it always had. My crew never asked for details, but the respect in their eyes told me they knew enough. Jerry mentioned once that Madison had called the office trying to reach me. "What'd you tell her?" I asked him. "That you were unavailable." "Permanently," he replied. "Thanks," I said. "Man protects what's his." "Nothing to thank me for," he responded. The dating question came up eventually. Friends suggested setups, co-workers mentioned sisters or cousins. I went on a few dinners. Pleasant women who deserved someone without my specific damage. I was honest about being divorced, vague about details. When they pushed for more, I'd excuse myself politely. Trust, once shattered, doesn't rebuild easily. I kept one photo from the marriage, our wedding day, both of us young and believing in forever. It sits in a locked drawer I rarely open, evidence of who I used to be. That version of me trusted completely, loved without reservation, believed vows meant something. That man died in my living room the night Madison brought Vincent Cox to my home. The man who emerged is different, harder, strategic. I watch for signs now. Locked phones, new perfumes, sudden changes. Maybe that's paranoid. Or maybe it's wisdom earned through pain. I've learned to verify rather than trust, to document instead of assume, to protect myself first. Some nights, I think about the path that led here. Madison's boredom transforming into betrayal, Cox's arrogance becoming his destruction, my own evolution from trusting husband to methodical strategist. Different choices would have led to different outcomes. Madison could have asked for divorce honestly. Cox could have pursued someone single. I could have confronted her early, maybe salvaged something. But we all chose our paths. Madison chose excitement over stability. Cox chose another man's wife over his own family. I chose evidence over ignorance, preparation over surprise, justice over forgiveness. The last time I saw Madison was at the courthouse finalizing paperwork. She looked diminished. Cheaper clothes, exhaustion written in every line, the confidence that once commanded rooms completely extinguished. She tried to speak, opened her mouth to form words that would never matter. I turned away before the first syllable. There was nothing left to say. She'd wanted an open marriage, thought she could dictate terms, believed I'd accept humiliation rather than fight. Instead, she got exposed, divorced, destroyed. Cox wanted to intimidate me in my own home. Instead, he got 2 bullets, a permanent limp, and a ruined life. They'd gambled everything on me being weak. They'd lost everything learning I wasn't. Now, at 41, I'm alone but not lonely. Free but not careless. The house is mine, bought with cash from the sale of the old place. The job is steady, honest work that builds rather than destroys. My reputation is intact. The man who handled his business, protected what was his, refused to be a victim. Sometimes people ask if I regret how it ended, if I'd do anything differently. I documented the truth, I tell them. I protected myself. I ensured consequences. I regret nothing. Madison Hall thought she'd found passion worth any price. Vincent. Cox thought he could take what wasn't his without consequence. They learned that some prices are too high, some consequences are permanent, and some men refuse to break. I'm Ethan Clark. I fix things for a living. When my marriage broke beyond repair, I didn't try to fix it. I demolished it completely, then built something better from the rubble. Something that belongs only to me. Something nobody can ever take again. And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.